Okay, how do you get lean and fit? This is going to be a short answer. I'm going to do the short version answer of this. And it's pretty simple and straightforward, but this is the truth. This is how you do it, okay? So what you do is we'll talk about food and we'll talk about exercise, the two things together. Food first, okay? Food's always going to be the most important when it comes to getting lean because you can't exercise your way out of a bad diet or nutrition. Everybody wants to focus on calories, but that's not where you should be putting your focus on in the first place. If you do these few simple things I'm about to tell you, and you do them consistently over a long period of time, it's going to take time. Remember, you didn't put on the body fat in a short amount of time, in a couple days or a couple weeks. It took a long time to do it. So it's going to take a long time. But here's what you do, okay? Stop focusing on calories. Don't really focus on that. You're going to use your hands as measurement tools, okay? So you're going to use both your palms, okay? Both your palms for the proteins that you eat, meaning, anything from chicken, fish, meat, turkey, anything like that, even eggs, and yeah, all those kinds of proteins. Now people will argue, I'm not going to get into all this stuff right now, but they will argue about beans being protein and broccoli and all stuff. I'm going to consider those things carbs, okay? Because if you look at the ratios, they're way higher in carbs. But let me get back to it. So your proteins are going to be your size of both your palms, okay? I'm talking thickness, I'm talking around, minus the fingers, okay? We're just talking palms. Your carbs, if you're going to have a starchier carb like a potato or rice, or even a starchier vegetable like carrots, peas, things like that, even tubers like potatoes, stuff like that, it's going to be the size of your fist, okay? And this is all custom to you because everybody's got a different hand size, different fist size. And the size of your greens or your vegetables, right, preferably greens, is going to be the other fist or more. You can have a whole plate or a whole bowl of that because it's essentially just vitamins, minerals, fiber, and water, right? It's almost no calories, very, very low if you stick to cruciferous, roughage type of vegetables, right? And like the leafy greens and stuff. And your fats are going to be roughly the size of both your thumbs. So it doesn't have to be exact, it could be a little bit more, a little bit less, but around there. The fat is very important. You don't want to have too low fat, okay? So a couple spoons of avocado is okay as long as that food doesn't bother you. Handful or two of olives. If you don't have stuff like that and you're eating chicken, you can eat the skin. Feel free to eat the leg and thigh. You can still get really lean eating like that. And so that's the food, right? That's going to cover the food, and make sure you get enough water. Good rule of thumb is half your body weight, that number, in ounces, okay? As far as exercise goes, you should be on at least 3 days a week of strength training and at least 2 to 3 days of cardio on top of that. And that doesn't mean you have to be working out 6 days a week. You can do that on the same day. You can do cardio after you do your strength training. I don't suggest you start like that. That's what you want to eventually work your way up to. But if you start just working out 2 days a week, that's perfectly fine. But eventually you want to get to the point where you're exercising 3 strength training days and at least 2 or 3 cardio days, okay? So you combine that with the nutrition that I just mentioned, and you do that for a prolonged period of time, and you will get lean. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubts whatsoever, okay? Here's where the problem comes in. When people say, I'm doing that and I can't get lean, and this is what it is. I will tell you 90% of everybody's issue. They will do what I'm saying, or what other people say, other trainers say, and it's good, let's say it's good advice, and they do it Monday through Friday, maybe even Monday through Saturday, and then since they worked really hard, they will go out, maybe it's their mom's birthday, or it's their dad's birthday, or it's a friend's birthday, and they go to Cheesecake Factory, or they go to whatever their favorite restaurant is, and they say, I worked really hard, I know I was burning a lot of calories, I did really good, I ate really lean, and then they go out and they eat whatever they want, or they have too many drinks, or they have dessert, Okay, I'm all about balance. I'm good with that, but you're not ready for that yet. You have to be in a caloric deficit, which those measurements I told you will enable you to be in that deficit if you're exercising, like I mentioned, 3 days of strength training, 2 to 3 days of cardio, and for at least 45 minutes to about an hour around there with a decent amount of intensity. You will create a deficit that way, right? But that one day that you're eating 2, 3, 4,000 calories extra than you normally would, if you distribute those calories throughout the week, now instead of being in a 200 calorie deficit every single day, you are now either neutral or you're in a surplus, right? So yeah, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So this is a method I came up with to help many, many clients, and it works really well. I have a high success rate as long as they follow my instruction. And that is, you you commit, okay? You commit to 6, 7, or 8 weeks, okay? And you do not cheat. You don't go out and eat a bunch of junk. I'm not saying everyone's perfect, but you do your best to be strict, and you develop discipline, because we need that discipline. It's very important. So in the future, when you get your body where you want it to get, where you want it to be, then you can go back to eating, really good during the week, and then on the weekend you can have, whatever you want, a cheat meal or whatever. And then if it puts you back on neutral, you're okay because you're at the body you want to have, right? But for now, to get to where you want to get to, you have to do these cycles of 6 to 8 weeks of being strict and eating really good, and do not go out and splurge and do whatever you want. Try to stay really good. And in fact, it may sound backwards or it may sound like it's not true, but when you do this, it actually makes it easier, because when you still keep eating sugar and processed foods and stuff that you shouldn't be eating once, twice a week, it makes it harder to not eat it than if you just completely try to go without that type of food, right? So if you put all those things together, the hands as measurement tools, right? For the protein of the palms, you have your starch, your carbs for one fist. Your other fist is your greens and your veggies, or more than a fist. And then your fats are both your thumbs. Water, half your body weight. Take that number, that's ounces, right? Just real general rule of thumb when you're working out. Of course, you want to make sure you're getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. And you stick with foods in their more natural state. You can't fool the body. Try to cook more at home. When you go out to eat, you can't control if the chef is adding a little bit more oils or extra butter, that's why it tastes so good when you go out, right? It tastes better a lot of the times than when you cook at home, because they're adding extra stuff, and they're not using measuring cups. They're just adding a little of this, a little of that. They're really good at what they do, so they don't have to take measurements when they're cooking. So it's really hard to control how much you eat, and you always end up, 9 out of 10 times, you're going to end up eating way more calories than you think you're eating, and you're going to feel stuck, and you're going to feel frustrated. So try your best to eat at home as much as you can, or take your meals with you to work. But those are the few things, okay? It's a very simple concept, right? But it's hard to actually apply not apply it, but it's hard to actually follow through and do it. That's what's hard, okay? So eat like I told you. It's going to be about, I didn't mention this, it'll be about 2 or 3 times a day, right? So if you are used to eating once a day, you're probably gonna have to eat more, because you want to eat more protein than that. And if you're used to eating 4 or 5 times a day, or maybe you eat 2 or 3 times and then you snack in between, then you're gonna have to bring it down a little bit, because you're probably not eating enough nutrients in each meal. Then you're basically hungry in between meals, and then you end up snacking more than you should. So that's what I highly recommend that you do. And I try to keep this short, but it's almost 10 minutes. So I guess this is short for me, because I'm used to making, I could just go on and on about this stuff. But if you want to get lean, that's the way to do it. Okay. General rules of thumb for protein. It's going to be, that's what I would say you focus on more than calories, is focus on your protein. A good rule of thumb is 0.5 gram to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So take your weight again, cut that number in half, and That's the minimum amount of protein grams you should be eating a day, and all the way up into your body weight, around there. Okay, this is speaking purely if you want to get lean. Okay, now if we're talking longevity, centenarians, people that live to 100 years old, that's a whole nother topic. Okay, but they don't live in LA. A lot of them don't. Well, we have the Seventh-day Adventists and they're in California, but anyhow, they're not trying to look like have a Hollywood body, right? But we're talking getting lean and still being healthy at the same time, right? So yeah, that's the way to do it. It has to be day in, day out, day in, day out. And it might sound boring, but that's the way it goes. You can spice it up. You can put salsa on your food. You can do different things, different spices if you want, but you got to keep the food like I mentioned before. It has to be those measurements I told you, and very, very, very consistent. Your body has no other choice but to change. It's just going to take time. It's going to take month after month. You're going to keep making changes. And then if you ever feel like you get stuck or you slow down with your changes on your body, most likely your body adapted to your exercise and you need to make the exercise a little bit more intense and a little harder. So maybe that's doing a higher incline on the treadmill. Maybe that's adding more weight on your strength training. Maybe that's shortening the rest periods, the rest intervals in between sets when you're doing strength training or circuit training. And maybe it's increasing your cardio time. It could be any of those things. So just keep that in mind as well, okay? But all those things, the nutrition, the exercise, they go hand in hand, right? And consistency is key. Consistency is king. It's always going to win. Slow and steady wins the race, right? Don't overdo it. Just stay consistent, okay? All right, have a good day.